Mangwanani Malelepo Fokenjani Klekwas, welcome to Africa. Good morning, your portal into Africa's potent stories. We begin in Mozambique, where opposition leader Venancio Mondlane faces terrorism charges after post-election protests. Zimbabwe's ZANU-PF renews its push for a third Mnangagwa term. Nigeria's Senate approves a $21 billion loan to cover budget gaps. The U.S. exits UNESCO for the third time. Portugal supports Morocco's Western Sahara plan. And Dangote sounds the alarm on Russian oil. Arrie Hougaard also joins us for the South Africa report. These are the stories reshaping the continent and beyond. Watch us on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com, and NTV Africa on YouTube. Keeping in mind, on OneUp2, if you click Echo, you've got access to this and other episodes, because on Echo, prime time is anytime. My name is Ashwin Berry. This is Africa Good Morning. Top stories shortly. Missed the madness? Catch every sharp jab, unfiltered truth, and political punchline from Second Take, the show that says what others won't. From presidential bloopers to policy absurdities, we satirize the powerful and poke the pompous. If you didn't catch the fire live, don't sweat it. Every single story is waiting for you on Echo. Find us at oneup2.com and Echo, in your time, on your terms. Let's get into our top stories on AGM. Venancio Mondlane, a vocal opposition politician in Mozambique, has been hit with 5 criminal charges, including instigation to terrorism, following the October 9, 2024 post-election unrest. A fierce critic of the ruling Frelimo party, Mondlane alleges he's being persecuted for exposing what he described as massive electoral fraud after President Daniel Chapo's controversial win. His protests led to violent clashes that claimed at least 400 lives and injured 600, many allegedly at the hands of the police. Now 31 officers face trial for their roles. Mondlane, who signed a national peace deal with the government in March, claims the authorities have violated that agreement. That deal had led to the passage of reconciliation laws and gave many hope for reform. But with these new charges, the country's fragile democratic transition is again in jeopardy. Mondlane maintains he has a clear conscience and has secured an international legal team to defend him. The charges have reignited concerns about authoritarianism and political retribution in Mozambique's post-election climate, which now teeters on the edge of renewed instability. Moving on. Zimbabwe's ruling party ZANU-PF is reigniting calls for President Mnangagwa to extend his rule beyond the 2-term constitutional limit. The internal debate is gaining traction ahead of the party's annual conference, with Mashonaland East Chair Daniel Garwe telling supporters in Marondera that continuing Mnangagwa's leadership aligns with Vision 2030. Ending his term, the party's 2023 resolution to do so remains active. The constitution, however, explicitly blocks a 3rd term unless amended, and even then, Mnangagwa would not be eligible under Section 3827. Garwe claimed the push is not an insult to dissenting voices, but a reinforcement of shared goals. Meanwhile, the opposition has sounded alarms. Former Finance Minister Tendai Biti took to social media condemning ZANU-PF's persistence as a vulgar 2030 agenda, vowing that citizens would fight attempts to undermine constitutional law and dignity. As party factions jostle some backing Vice President Chiwenga, Zimbabwe finds itself in yet another internal power tug of war as the nation looks toward its political future. Nigeria's Senate has approved President Bola Tinubu's proposal for over $21 billion in foreign borrowing, aiming to plug gaps in the 2025 national budget. This sweeping approval includes €4 billion, 15 billion yen, a $65 million grant, and $2 billion in domestic borrowing. Senate Appropriations Chair Solomon Adeola confirmed the move, stating that all revenue sources are now in place to fund sectors such as infrastructure, infrastructure, healthcare, housing, education, and security. Of note is a $3 billion allocation to revamp Nigeria's Eastern Rail Corridor, an ambitious 2,044-kilometer narrow-gauge line. Tinubu's administration has embraced controversial economic reforms, including ending fuel subsidies and devaluing the naira, aimed at boosting growth. However, these changes have worsened inflation and sparked a cost of living crisis. The borrowing marks a strategic shift toward fiscal expansion amid limited internal revenue. The House of Representatives is expected to give its final approval soon. While the reforms are bold, the debt trajectory and inflationary impacts remain subjects of concern for many citizens and economists monitoring Nigeria's fragile economy. The United States has once again announced its departure from UNESCO, marking its third exit from the Paris-based cultural and educational organization. White House spokesperson Anna Kelly confirmed that President Donald Trump made the decision, criticizing UNESCO for supporting quote-unquote woke, divisive, cultural and social causes. This follows a pattern. Trump had already withdrawn from UNESCO during his first term, with the U.S. only rejoining under President Joe Biden. The decision will formally take effect at the end of December next year. Although neither UNESCO nor the White House has publicly finalized the announcement, the move was anticipated following Trump's ordered review earlier this year. Previous withdrawals occurred under the Reagan administration in 1984 and again in 2017 under Trump, both citing ideological disagreements and perceived bias. UNESCO lost U.S. and Israeli funding in 2011 after granting Palestine full membership. With another departure looming, UNESCO faces another leadership gap from one of its founding and largest financial contributors, reigniting debates about its global role and internal politics. Portugal has thrown its support behind Morocco's autonomy proposal for Western Sahara, calling it a serious and credible solution to the long-running territorial dispute. Portuguese Foreign Minister Paulo Rangel expressed the government's stance during a diplomatic meeting this week, aligning Lisbon with a growing list of Western countries that back Morocco's sovereignty claim. The conflict dates back to 1975, when Spain vacated the region, leaving Morocco and the Algeria-supported Polisario Front locked in a decades-long stalemate. Morocco's proposal offers limited autonomy under its sovereignty, an idea that the Polisario Front rejects outright, instead demanding full independence. Talks facilitated by the United Nations have stagnated for years, yielding no concrete resolution. Portugal's endorsement adds momentum to Rabat's campaign to win broader international backing. The move is likely to influence diplomatic discussions and could pressure other European nations to clarify their positions. As momentum builds for Morocco's framework, questions remain about the future of negotiations and whether a political resolution can indeed be achieved. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. Shortly we'll be having a look at the weather, and after that, Arrie Hougaard joins us for the South Africa Report. It's time for us to talk to Arrie Hougaard as he delivers the South Africa report. Goeiemôre, Arrie.
Yes, good morning, Ashwin. Nice to talk to you. Lovely morning here in Cape Town, and hopefully the same in Namibia.
All right, always good to have you on the show, Arrie. So, in your current affairs, The South African Parliament this Wednesday approved the appropriation bill, but that's not the real kicker. The DA apparently gave their support in the voting process. And in your other current affairs story, the Minister of Agriculture, John Steenhuisen, leader of the DA, said he is still waiting for the US government to respond to South Africa's revised trade offer.
Yes, morning, everyone. Indeed, it is nice to say that there's been unity in the government of national unity. It's been a long road, so it's well documented. The budget that was put to table earlier in the year actually created chaos. It wasn't approved. We know about the VAT increases, but the person there on the photo was maybe a turning point in a maybe in a sad way as well. That is Minister Nombolo Nkabane. She was the Minister of Higher Education and Training, so she was a controversial figure in the Parliament to the extent that the DA said if she's not released from her position, they will not vote for the budget. So there was other merit as well. Well, in short, there's allegation of misconduct and misleading Parliament. So President Cyril Ramaphosa put her out of her position, and so that's what happened. So the DA said, well, in that case, now we're supporting. So there's lots of infighting still, there was, but there's happier days. There's a handshake, and that is Minister President Ramaphosa and Mr. Steenhuisen of the DA. So in short, what happened yesterday, the Parliament had to vote for the appropriation bill to be approved. And that's basically the appropriation bill is law that gives the government the permission for public funds for department services. So the funds is basically the National Revenue Fund, and that is taxes and customs. So that is the money that South Africa get in. So there's also a new word that was mentioned yesterday. Obviously, the Minister of Finance had to change his budget somewhat. There's better control, definitely, that was proposed. There's a new term, that's TARS. They call it the Targeted and Responsible Spending TARS. So that will be prioritizing certain departments and also looking at how the spending is done. So maybe there's better checks and balances in the budget at the moment. And the problem still for South Africa is a very high level of debt. So Africa's debt is 650 trillion South African rand. It's very high to the GDP. It's about 77% to the GDP. So that's not healthy. It was half of that in 2024, beginning of 2024. So it needs to be addressed. But anyway, that is part of the component that you talked earlier as well. That is vehicles that is made in South Africa and exported to the USA. So that's also been well documented that the tariffs, not only for South Africa, but 20 other countries in the world, has been raised by America. But the frustration for South Africa at the moment is that the Minister of Agriculture, Minister John Steenhuisen, said that the USA is yet to respond to new revised offers South Africa sent. So the first one was not approved by America on the 20th of May. So what is in the tariff for the revised offers from South Africa is that the South Africa commit to US national gas and fracking technology that the South Africa will tap into in exchange for duty-free steel and vehicle exports. So the vehicle export is a big component, steel exports as well, and also offer the US farmers actually tariff-free access to local markets when South African fruit are not in season. So there's a few offers on the table, but America not coming back to South Africa, and it's going to come into effect from the 1st of August if the revised offer is not accepted. So also, according to FlySAF Air, that is maybe I can mention that quickly, that's maybe Namibians also flying with the airline when in South Africa, and FlySAF Air, their solidarity is still representing 20 of the pilots, and they're looking for higher compensation. There's been 28 flights that was cancelled in the week. It was a lot better yesterday, only 2 flights yesterday. So they're getting closer to answers, and Solidarity said that they will compensate some of the salaries figures that they asked for a better roster, meaning that they have more time off, and it's not, at the moment, it's 7 days on, 7 days off, apparently. So it's not perfect for FlySAF Air pilots. But so that's the latest on the current news in South Africa, Ashwin.
We certainly hope that stalemate can be handled soon. Now, Arrie, in your sport, The South African women's rugby team faces a tough challenge on Saturday as they play New Zealand in Cape Town, and the Proteas men's team also plays New Zealand in the T20 final in Harare.
Ashwin, yes, it's a big day for South African women. They're playing tough competition. They've played Canada twice, and now that's also in the top 4 in the world. New Zealand is one of the strongest teams. They've won the World Cup 6 times, so it will be tough for the South African women. They're getting a lot better. They're competitive. It's probably still difficult to beat New Zealand on Saturday, but they're getting closer and more competitive. So Lerato Makua, one of the stars of the team, said that they're very positive and looking forward to facing the Haka. So South Africa have been successful in the men's under-20 and the World Cups against New Zealand, but it's going to be difficult on Saturday. But great for them to play in Cape Town in the Athlone Stadium. So that will be very unique, and that's the team they're practicing before getting ready for that big game. And then on the cricket field, yes, it's a final. It was a triangular rather, that was played in Harare. New Zealand actually beat South Africa twice in the week in the round robin. So the final on Saturday, South Africa need to play a lot better to beat New Zealand in the third or the final on Saturday. So that's being played in Harare. So it's exciting cricket there in Zimbabwe. And then also I can maybe close with football as well. Unfortunately, we talked a lot about the women's South African Nations Cup. There's action against Nigeria. South Africa losing way almost in the real closing minutes of the game, 2-1 against Nigeria, falling out. Not played final between Morocco and Nigeria. South Africa play on Friday. Actually, tomorrow they will play a third place playoff against Ghana. But still, well done to Banyana. We're proud of what they achieved. That's sports happening over the weekend with focus.
All right, Arrie, as usual, we end with some entertainment and tourism. Table Mountain is one of Cape Town's most well-known tourist attractions. I can argue that's the last place I saw you, Arrie. And of course, millions of people visit the national park annually.
Yeah, such a special place. So you can see Table Mountain there behind me. That's the waterfront and Table Mountain, and it's old. They say it's 500 million years old, so lots of erosion and stuff that happened around it. And on the corner on the right tip there, you can see the cable car. So that is quite unique, and that's the views from Lion's Head. It's amazing. That is Camps Bay Beach there at the bottom. So the views from Table Mountain down with the surroundings around Table Mountain is massive. It's actually a national park. So there's 8,200 plant species. It's a huge volume of space to walk on top there as well, about 1,000 square meters as well. And so people hike up the mountain as well. It's not only taking the cable car, but the cable car is a big component. So there it is. That's a cable car you take up. That goes up about 700 meters. The distance from sea level to the top there is about 1 kilometer. And 700 meters you go up, there can be 65 people in that little car. And it takes about 4 to 5 minutes to go up there. So it's amazing views from Cape Town. You can see Robben Island there, the distance. So it's well visited. And in 2011, Table Mountain was added as one of the new 7 wonders of nature. So that's a big accolade. South Africa and Cape Town, proud of that. And there's in 2020 there was a milestone, the 28 million people that already went up the cable car. So it's more than 28 million, still counting, going for 29 million that's been up the mountain in the cable car, and 4.2 million people visit the mountain annually. So it's a great tourist attraction. Cape Town proud of Table Mountain, and definitely when you visit again, Ashwin, one of the things to do on the bucket list for us to go up with a cable car up Table Mountain.
Yes, indeed, Arrie. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa Good Morning, delivering the South Africa report.
Thanks, Ashwin. Nice talking to everyone, and play safe, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right, so Dangote, Africa's billionaire, possibly still the richest man in Africa, is warning us of toxic Russian oil undermining Africa's refineries. We'll be talking about that after the economic indicators. Apologies there with some of our stock exchange numbers not reflecting. Do make sure you visit our Synergy chatbot and you can have a look at the economic indicators and of course in other shows still coming through right here on NTV. Let's continue into the economic news. Africa's richest man, Aliko Dangote, has raised alarm over the influx of discounted Russian petroleum products flooding African markets, warning that the trend threatens the continent's fragile refining industry. Speaking at an oil summit in Abuja, Dangote said sanctions on Russian oil have driven Moscow to offload fuel at drastically reduced prices, fuel that often fails to meet international safety standards. Now, he cited the Lome floating market off Togo's coast as a hub for this trade, with over 2 million barrels in circulation. Dangote's $20 billion refinery outside Lagos, the largest in Africa, has already processed and exported over 1 million tons of petrol since June, yet it still struggles to secure adequate local crude. Plans are underway to boost refining capacity to 700,000 barrels per day. Despite Africa producing around 7 million barrels of crude daily, only 40% is refined locally. Dangote urged African governments to implement fuel quality regulations and environmental safeguards akin to those in Europe and North America, warning that without action, local industries will collapse under pressure from poorly regulated international traders. Let's get into the sport. All right, so as you know, the Volviches, Namibia's national rugby team, is in Uganda, and Daniel Kulda, manager of consumer connections at Heineken Namibia Breweries Limited, extended his heartfelt support to the Namibia national rugby team as they take on the UAE in Uganda this Saturday. The team is battling for World Cup qualification, and Daniel joins the nation in cheering them on with pride and belief in their strength, spirit, and determination. After all, this is the final push.
So guys, yeah, thank you very much. I think from an MBL point of view, we have a value that we call join the brew of true togetherness. Main objective behind the rugby sponsorship this year was to make sure that we bring everyone together through rugby, through our Windhoek brand. And it was great to engage with our consumers, bring our consumers into our world, into the world of rugby, and to have the opportunity to bring the guys out here to Uganda to create a memorable experience for them, as well as to show support to our rugby team. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way we wanted it to go, but there's another opportunity. And from this trip, we can take that it was a really, really great experience. If you speak to everyone enjoyed it. You know, there were some bucket list items that were ticked from some of the team members, and this is really the value and why we're doing this is because we put our consumers first, and we want to make sure that they will enjoy and remember this trip for the rest of their lives. So thank you very much from an MBL Windhoek point of view. Yeah, so one last message for the guys, for the boykies. Guys, we feel with you, we feel your hurt, but we are there to support you all the way, you know, barring what comes next. And really, really good luck for Saturday and then for the rest of the campaign in order to still qualify for the World Cup 2027 and be with you 100%.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com and Network Media Hub, as well as NTV Africa on YouTube. Keeping in mind on oneup2.com, if you click the echo icon, you have access to not just this full episode, but all our other episodes. So do make sure you go to oneup2.com and click echo.